How's it going, everybody? Andrew Zarian here, Wrestling Observer Live. We're here every day, Monday through Friday, 3 p.m. Eastern, 1 p.m. on Saturdays with Jim Valley, and Sundays with me. Happy Sunday, everybody. Happy Mother's Day, I should say. Mother's Day Sunday. You know what I did this morning? I made my family amazing little bacon, egg, and cheese sandwiches. Tonight, I'm cooking steak right after the show. I'm going to get the grill going. I'm putting some steak on the grill. MG, I see you. I see you're waiting for that invite. It's for Mother's Day, not podcast radio producer day. But a lot to talk about today. Backlash last night. WWE Backlash put on a pay-per-view out of St. Louis. The main event was John Cena, Randy Orton for the 8,000th time. We're going to talk about that as my sign falls behind me for people that are watching. John Cena took over the press conference also. Him and R-Truth had a bizarre interaction. We'll talk about that. We had a debut. Jeff Cobb. He's in WWE. He made his choice. And he's aligning with Solo Sikoa. I'm curious how that's going to play out. Alexa Bliss also returns. AEW Dynamite preview. You had Collision. You had Dynamite out of that amazing Detroit, the Masonic Temple in Detroit. What a beautiful, old school venue. Stunning. Also some other stuff when we come back. I do want to talk about some of the residencies that AEW is going to be holding. One was announced. I believe there's another. I believe there's going to be multiple, but I know of one. You might not be surprised when I tell you where it is. When we come back, we're going to talk about this and a whole lot more. Wrestling Observer Live here on Sports Byline. Stay tuned. Wrestling Observer Live here on Sports Byline, Mother's Day edition of the show. Not that that means anything. Just Mother's Day. I'm cooking a steak right after this show. Made some bacon, egg, and cheese. It's very New York of me this morning. I fed the whole family. I was like a deli. It was like one of those TikToks you see. You know, they go into the deli and they're like, oh, I'm going to be very New York. I'm going to order a bacon, egg, and cheese. Have you had one, MG? Are you a fan of bacon, egg, and cheeses?
I have something like that every morning, but I use Canadian bacon.
Oh yeah, you're a Detroit boy. I forgot. You guys use a little different,
I'm
on everything.
60 miles from the border, so hey,
Let's talk about this. Backlash, St. Louis. This crowd was hot. The crowd was into the show. I'm going to say, I'm not going to give it a thumbs in the middle. I actually enjoyed the show. And the way that I'm consuming these pay-per-views now, because, listen, guys, everybody that's listening to the show, on Sports Byline, on the internet, Armed Forces Network, anywhere and everywhere you could consume the show. You are a smarter group of individuals. Or so I like to think. Not all of you. Not all of you, but most of you. And we consume wrestling, we consume media very differently. We're looking at different things. You know who's not? My children. So when I'm watching these pay-per-views, I like to look at it in two different ways. How I'm enjoying the show and how these kids, the demo that they're catering to for longevity and to build a lifelong fan base, how are they enjoying it? And my kids really, really like this show, except for the main event. They were very bored with that main event. But listen, it's a John Cena. I enjoyed it. But we'll talk about this. I was shocked how hot LA Knight is. That crowd was really into him. And it's become one of those things. It's WWE. It's a spectacle, right? The entrances are a big thing. Everybody gets a huge ovation. LA Knight came out. He looked like $1 million. Big reaction. Drew McIntyre, Damian Priest, Jacob Fatu for the U.S. title. The story of this was, pretty much McIntyre and Priest are killing each other. Right? Is that how you saw this? They're still continuing this? They're fighting on the outside of the ring.
Yeah, it was two different fights going on for most of this.
McIntyre took a nasty bump off a table onto another table, and the way they shot it, they did this like under shot, and it looked like they were standing like 80 feet in the air when he fell. I mean, really good camera manipulation there. But Drew seems to he hit his head on the floor or something because he was taking a couple seconds there. But story here was Solo Sikoa would pull Fatu out of the ring to avoid a elbow drop from LA Knight. This led to the debut of Jefferson Cobberton. Jeff Cobb, New Japan star. I'm trying to think, when is the first time I saw Jeff Cobb wrestle in person? And it had to have been 2015 or 2016. I saw him wrestle for Evolve. Nicest guy. Very nice guy. He was taking photos with everybody. He's been around for a while. And everybody was curious where he would fall when he signed with WWE. And it seems like he is now involved with the offshoot bloodline stuff between Solo and Jacob Fatu. Do you think this is do you think this makes sense to put him here?
Yeah, I do, because you know what we're going to get out of this? Something I want. They can serve me up on a platter all day long.
Jacob Fatu and Jeff Cobb. Yeah,
absolutely. That match is the money match. If they're not doing that, because that seems like where they were going.
Wait till Bronson Reed comes back.
Fatu seemed very confused, like he was a little taken back. So there's that.
So that's a story, right? Here's another addition to this group. Solo, I guess this is how they replace Jacob in the group when he has a falling out with them. I thought it was done well. I'm curious to see what they do more with this. You can see that this is going into Solo, Fatu, and Cobb as the story. And that's great because now it takes away, it separates, the U.S. title picture, and these other guys could go off and do something else. But it doesn't look like Damian Priest and Drew McIntyre is over. I don't know where LA Knight falls in this. Odd man out, I guess.
I mean, they'll find something for him.
I'm sure.
He's over.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Lyra Valkyria defeated Becky Lynch with a pinfall clean to retain the Intercontinental Championship, the women's IC title. The crowd was... I have to tell you, Lyra looked great in this match. Okay? Her promo last week was really good. She looked good. The story
She's figured
here...
something out recently.
Exactly. She has figured something out, and Becky made her look incredible. Becky at one point threatened to use chair, but did end up removing a turnbuckle pad. Lynch sent Lyra right into the ring post, but the referee saw it. This actually caused a lot of confusion. Lyra connected with Nightwing, but Lynch kicked out thanks to the ref taking too long. Lyra scores a flash roll-up pin to retain.
She was trying to put the turnbuckle back on, and it kind of led. It was. Yeah. I like this match. This match was really good. It was really solidly worked.
I was not expecting it to be as good as it was, but I think the rise of Lyra over the last couple of weeks has really helped.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Becky looked like maybe she wasn't at times, maybe a little slow, but for the most part, I did like this match.
Bit. She just came
and then her snapping at the end, and doing whatever she's doing now.
She did the disarm her on Valkyria
until poor Adam Pearce had a night, or both the general managers had nights.
yeah, I would say so. Dominic Mysterio. Penta. So, this was a very interesting match. Dominic is very over right now, and so is Penta. And you could see the rise of Dominic Mysterio, which is amazing to talk about because when he debuted, he honestly debuted in the worst possible way at the worst possible time. He debuted on the main roster, right?
And he was still very young looking.
And he was still very young looking and very green, and during the pandemic.
Mm-hmm.
So, really, from beginning to now, what a transformation he's had. He's if he does not end up as a world champion at some point, something went wrong.
Inevitable.
Something went wrong.
Yeah.
And, he's a great example of just things clicking and it working. He defeated Penta via pinfall to retain the IC championship. He's gotten so good.
He's doing a lot of lucha moves now, a lot more than he used to. He added a lot of stuff into this match. Yeah.
Well, I think they're going to do something. I think there's a reason for this. When they go down to Mexico and they have this extended relationship with AAA, it really, I mean, what a bigger star. Can you have a bigger star than him? That crowd is going to eat him up. Going to be very good.
I like it. Yeah, he's great.
So the story of this match, before we have to break, was a total schmaz at one point. Carlito, Finn Balor, JD McDonough all tried to interfere with Finn Balor getting caught by the ref. Distraction allowed El Grande Americano, who may or may not be Chad Gable, by the way. And I don't have to scoop on that, and I don't think anybody does. I don't even think Dave has this. I like to assume it's not Chad. I can't imagine he's playing this character. It allowed him to headbutt Penta, frog splash for the win. So the story is going to be El Grande Americano and Penta and Dominic, and possibly the longest turn ever with Finn Balor. When we come back, I want to pick this up again because there's a couple interesting points here. Wrestling Observer Live here on Sports Byline. We'll be back right after this. Wrestling Observer Live here on Sports Byline. I want to pick it up where we left it off, but before I do me a favor. Follow me on X at Andrew Zarian. That's pretty much the only place I'm on right now. I don't really post much on Instagram other than, family moments. You can follow me there too. You're not going to get anything fun though. MG stalks me on everything, my producer. He's on my MySpace. He's on my Friendster. He's on my ICQ chat. AIM. He's old school. Prodigy.
Have all your stuff.
He has all my stuff. He hacks my Prodigy account and my CompuServe account. It's unbelievable. So I really liked how they positioned this. And you know what? It was one thing about the show was it was very predictable, right? In a very WWE way. They set you up to know what's coming next. And they tend to do that a lot. You have the Solo Sikoa and Jacob Fatu, and now with Jeff Cobb, that situation and where that's headed. So you already know that. The big surprise for me was the clean win for Lyra, but the Dominic Penta stuff set up some really interesting programs because you have El Grande Americano with Penta, and you now have Dominic and that Finn Balor turn that's coming eventually.
Like, eventually.
Eventually. Gunther, Pat McAfee. Gunther defeated Pat via submission. The story early on was how much punishment can McAfee take, and Pat's chest was beat red by the end of the show. He had a couple sloppy moments, but I think it added to it because guess what? He's a ring announcer. He's a commentator. He's a color commentator. He's not a wrestler. He was an athlete, and that gives him a little bit of an advantage over other people. But that was the big story. Gunther,
he trains. He trains
but
wrestling, but but getting in there with someone of that caliber and doing it,
he shouldn't look totally like he should not look like I'm trying to think of anybody. I was going to say Bad Bunny, but Bad Bunny didn't, Bad Bunny looked great for being a musician. Logan Paul, he should not look as good as Logan Paul. And I think that was the point here. And I think Pat did really good. He had a comeback midway through the match. At one point, Michael Cole got out of his announcer seat, and he would try to trip Gunther behind the ref's back.
He
did the old Bobby Heenan.
Yeah.
He got up, and then he just did the trip. I thought that was really good.
Yeah.
Crowd loved that, right? Because remember, at that point, heels and faces don't matter. They're cheering for the underdog. And it's fantastic. I had fun with this. I really enjoyed this match. My kids loved it too.
So I have a question. Well, go ahead and finish it out.
Essentially what happened, McAfee would eventually pass out from the choke. after fighting out several times.
So I don't know about you, but I thought this is where maybe Goldberg returned.
Well, that seems to be
where they're going, but I thought they might
for Saudi Arabia
start tease it. Is that what we're doing? Yeah,
I think so. Because remember, it's going to be a big payday. It's a big presentation. It's Bill Goldberg. Does he beat Gunther? I don't know. Does it really matter? I don't think so. Just to give that guy a send off. His last run was really good. I think people forget that. As
long as you don't go to him too much,
dude. That Bobby Lashley match. Yeah. I mean, it's out of our memory now. But do you remember how unexpectedly good that was? Probably Goldberg's best match.
Yeah, I do. Okay, now that you,
I have to tell you, and I want people to go back to that. And maybe it's revisionist history. Like where it's newer and it's fresher, so we remember. But I remember when I watched that match, I thought, oh man, I haven't seen Goldberg look this good maybe ever. Who was his best match in WCW? He didn't have any good ones when he came to WWE.
Did he have any good ones in WCW?
I cannot remember. I'm sure there was maybe one.
They were all moments, right? They were all 4 minutes moments.
He had moments. He had
people out of their
moments.
Shoes, and that was, and you cheered for that, and that was it.
Yeah. So I don't know. This is obviously where Goldberg is headed, but cool. They'll do a big WWE thing. They'll do a big send-off, and that'll be that. John Cena, Randy Orton, main event.
Oh.
Now, my kids hated this match. They did not like it. It's also getting late.
Yeah.
It was a tight show, though. They went, 3.5 hours?
Dude, when this match started, it was still light out here.
Mm-hmm.
It was like, it was, I could still say, I was like, it's not even dark yet, and we're starting the main event.
Great. I love it.
Which was kind of cool.
So cool.
Yeah.
John Cena, Randy Orton. John Cena defeated Randy via pinfall to retain the undisputed WWE Championship. The story had multiple rough bumps every time Orton got the upper hand. This was, if you've seen a John Cena, Randy Orton match, you've seen a John Cena, Randy Orton match. It was exactly like, dude, it was a 2004 main event.
Yep, we got in a time machine and we went back.
That's literally, you had interferences, you had it was very much a 2004, 2005, 2006 WWE main event. All the management came out, including Nick Aldis.
And apparently there's only 2 referees. Because only 2 come out.
Listen, it's a busy night. It was a busy night for TKO. They had a UFC pay-per-view also, so maybe some things got mixed up. They couldn't pay for everybody's flight. They had to cut corners. This is a company that's kind of financially suffering, right? Isn't that the story with TKO?
Jeez.
The billions and billions and billions that they're making is not enough. The big story here was that it was a total old school WWE main event. Nick Aldis would come out to check on the ref. Everybody gets RKO'd when Randy gets frustrated. When he was setting up the punt, it confused R-Truth, got in the way to save his childhood hero. He then gets RKO. Johnny Cena would use the bell to get the win.
Oh.
It was fine. It was slow. And they had a lot of smoke and mirrors here. Yeah.
I got to tell you, overall, not my favorite pay-per-view of the year, but there was a lot of good moments in here.
Not my favorite pay-per-view either. It was fine. It was a thumbs in the middle.
It was it was a story beat show more than anything.
I liked a lot of stuff on the show. I really liked. Yeah. I like where they're going with the Jacob Fatu stuff. I thought that match was great. The opener was a lot of fun. I really liked the Lyra, Valkyria, and Becky Lynch match because, again, unexpected. I did not think Lyra would get a clean win. I thought that was fun. I really liked the Dominic and Penta stuff, even though there was so much happening at the end. But it told you where they were going. The Gunther, Pat McAfee stuff was fun. Not a great match, but it was fun. And the John Cena main event was a slow John Cena main event. So thumbs in the middle. Didn't love it, didn't hate it. Fun 3.5 hours. Some stuff from SmackDown before we go into AEW. Alexa Bliss returned. as Zelina Vega's partner against Chelsea Green and Piper Niven. So this was so strange on SmackDown. And I feel like, did I miss something here, MG? So yes. Alexa comes out, does her thing, gets a big reaction. She's teaming up with Zelina. And then she starts like coaching a distraught Charlotte Flair.
So they did a segment where Charlotte tried to talk to the crowd again, much like she did in the Tiffany Stratton promo, where she kind of lost her mind in the middle of it.
Yeah.
When they were setting up for Tiffany Stratton at Mania. And she just, and maybe now they're making that a thing, part of the angle. And then after she was walking back, Nick Aldis was telling her, like scolding her, telling her, you can't do that. You can't walk out like that. Then Alexa interrupted her and told her, hey, we got to talk. So we're getting some sort of Alexa Bliss mentorship thing. I don't know. It was weird, but they're setting up something strange.
They're setting up something. Maybe she'll go, I don't know what.
Maybe she'll go mentor Becky too, and we'll have the old OGs.
Oh my gosh. That generation.
I mean, she lost her mind too. Yeah.
And how about Bayley too? Maybe she could go and start coaching Bayley too. Right?
That would actually be interesting.
Go back to 2016.
That's what it would be.
Yeah. Nia Jax defeated Jade to become the #1 contender on SmackDown for the women's title. I don't know. I don't think Jade should be losing.
Yeah.
Once you start losing, you're like everybody else. So Fraxium, and I have to tell you, this team is great. They defeated the Street Profits. You know, their comeuppance has been something interesting here with Nathan Frazier and Axiom. Do you like them?
They might turn out, yeah, and they might turn out to be the best NXT tag team, like all-time best NXT tag team. And what they're doing on the main roster now is awesome. Because they weren't, I don't think these guys were meant to be a tag team. They threw them together, and
it worked.
Here we go.
Yeah. And it worked. Aleister Black defeated Carmelo Hayes. So this is it's another week. You know, what do you make of the crowd response to Aleister? Hasn't been crazy, huh?
No, it's been good. It's been all right. I mean, I don't know. Yeah.
I'm giving it time. I love the presentation. The music's perfect for him. The presentation's good. You know, I want them to continue doing this. And you also had Andrade and Rey Fenix defeating Los Garzas. So that was SmackDown. Overall, they had 2 days back-to-back. They had a decent time. After the show, you had John Cena attacking R-Truth at the press conference. And they've also set up Jey Uso and Logan Paul for the title, Saturday night's main event on the 24th in Tampa. Wrestling Observer Live, we'll be back right after this. Wrestling Observer Live here on Sports Byline. Monday Night Raw, this Monday, AJ Styles, Finn Balor, the War Raiders versus American Made, Io Sky and Rhea Ripley against Roxanne Perez and Julia, and CM Punk appears. Let's go into AEW this week. They ran at the Masonic Temple in Detroit. That building looked great. I love an older building. You know, there's not too many of these left that you could run, and AEW's finding them all, and they're running them. Have you ever been there, MG? You're a Detroit boy. You been to the Masonic Temple?
I have not, but now I'm intrigued to go. I know a few of my friends have gone there because Jack White, who from the White Stripes, who's from Detroit, played there religiously, and he actually put money into refurbish that building a few years back. And they actually the secondary theater is named after him because of it. So yeah, and I know a lot of people have went there, but for a long time I didn't think of it as a concert venue. I almost thought it was a church just by the name.
Well, you know what's amazing? It's a lot of those, like the Hammerstein Ballroom, like it's used as a church too. Mm-hmm. And I think using unique venues like this as a residency for multi-show, whatever. I think that's a great idea. we saw them do it with we saw them do this in Texas with that sports, the esports arena, and people were very skeptical whether or not that would work, and it did, and they had good they had good attendance, they had decent attendance for those shows, and it really stabilized that show. I thought it was fine. We saw them do this with the Hammerstein Ballroom.
So
early this year.
Don't you think people are getting a little too ahead of themselves and make too much out of, hey, you have to fill a 10,000 seat arena every time or you're failing?
No,
because I like this.
That's
as long as it looks good on TV.
WWE
right?
Historically, WWE right now they're hot and they're able to fill those buildings, but when they're not hot, they're not filling 10,000 people in a building. That number, when Dave talks about that 10,000 number, that's a difficult number to achieve. AEW hits it regularly when they're running a pay-per-view or they have a mega show or they're doing something big, and WWE does it regularly too because they're hot right now. So, 3,000, 4,000, 5,000 people in a building, it's not an easy task. It really isn't. I think if you know how the ticketing business works, you kind of you kind of understand there's not, first of all, you don't want to run an arena and have to lose money. Generally, when AEW is running those arenas, they're not losing money because they're getting a good deal on them. Because sometimes the smaller venues cost a lot more, too. That's also a part of it. But, they announced they're running a 7-show residency at the former ECW arena, the 2300 arena. They're going to have ROH there. They're going to have Collision and Dynamite. And a lot of people are asking, where else are they going to do this? And are they going to do it? Yes, they are. Because I believe they're coming back to the Hammerstein Ballroom to do another, residency with a multi-show, multi-day show, Friday, Saturday, Sunday. If you could do that, you're saving so much on cost. It works out. I thought this was great, though. I thought running this venue was very cool. Dynamite, couple key notes here because it's already old news. I'm not going to go deep into it, but you saw Samoa Joe have a match with Claudio Castagnoli in the main. Death Riders would try to attack him. After the match, Powerhouse Hobbs would come with a chair to prevent this. You had Okada defeating Kevin Knight in a Continental title eliminator match. He did some stuff, Okada. He did a drop kick. He did a drop kick here. American Okada. Mercedes did a really good sit down. Jamie did a really good sit down with Mercedes. I like these sit downs. They really remind me of the old Jim Ross segments. Mercedes would come in, take your pills. Your alarm's going off. Mercedes would try to attack her. They ended up brawling into the box seats. Mercedes would retreat. So this is the program here. And to kind of skip forward, Mercedes lost a title yesterday. You had New Japan Friday night. I'm sorry. Last night was Maple Leaf. Resurgence was Friday night, where in the main event, Axiom defeated Mina and Mercedes to win the New Japan Strong Women's title.
It's Azumi.
What did I say? Azumi. That's what I said. That's what I said. What did I say?
Azumi. Sound like a sneeze.
Azumi. Azumi defeated Mina. So Mercedes did not get pinned here. And Mercedes was irate. She couldn't believe it. Yeah. She was trying to come back in the ring to save the match. I like this a lot. Some people did not like it. Some people thought that Mercedes should have taken the pin. They're really protecting Mercedes. It's very obvious where they're headed here with Toni Storm. So this all played a part in this. Collision, however, opened up with something amazing here. Okay? They tried to do something amazing. Toni Storm opens the show from the balcony box seats. It's all in black and white, and everything had a overly sexualized innuendo. I thought this was a very strong promo. She's incredible. I mean, you want to talk about characters, creating a character and making it work. If I told you WWE has Toni Storm, and now they're going to give her an old-timey, vaudeville, old-time Hollywood gimmick,
they would have messed it up.
I would say that's insane. Why don't you let her wrestle?
Mm-hmm.
But this works. Tony's passionate about it. She's into the character. She's developed it. Now, I don't know who wrote this, if it was RJ City or if it was Toni Storm or it was Tony Khan. But whoever...
I think it's mostly her.
Is it? I see a lot of RJ's fingerprints all over this. But
maybe he's massaging it a little bit.
Maybe massaging it. But Tony's incredible. Really, really incredible work here. Ricochet defeated Angelico with Serpentico via pinfall. Ricochet confronts Zach Gowen after the match before hitting an army of security guards. Ricochet tried to cut someone's hair off, but Gowen would take the scissors out of Ricochet's hand. Ricochet would kick Zach Gowen. Now, this is the Zach Gowen. Okay, Zach Gowen was front row with, I guess, his kid or somebody.
Yeah, he lives in, I didn't even know this. He lives in the Detroit area, so.
Okay. The Zach Gowen, the one-legged wrestler that was hired by mistake by John Laurinaitis. That is such an incredible story. That is really one of the best. I don't know who tells it the best because I've heard the story so many times, but it is a incredible story. I'm sure you could search for it on YouTube. And there's a million people talking about this. I don't know if it was on Conrad. I think it was Bruce Pritchard and Conrad that spoke about this, and it was hysterical. But it really does show a level of incompetence here. But this is the Zach Gowen. So Ricochet then kicks Gowen's prosthetic leg before hitting a spirit gun on Gowen and taking the scissors. He also took his leg with him and started mocking him. This has led to a match. Zach Gowen and Ricochet are wrestling
in 2025.
In 2025. And you know what? Great heel work by Ricochet. Everybody hates that guy. They hate him for all the right and wrong reasons. Have you seen the discourse between him and people that are so angry at him for leaving WWE?
Well, the what's his face? Javon Evans from NXT and him had
him and Javon Evans.
Huge spat this week, yeah.
I believe Javon Evans referred to Tony Khan as a crackhead.
Yes, he did. Take that what you will. Because I don't know what to do with it.
Yeah, I don't either. I don't either. This is cool. So, also, Don Callis' family, Kyle Fletcher, Rocky Romero, Trent Beretta, and Lance Archer, with Don Callis on the outside, defeated AR Fox, Bandito, the Outrunners via pinfall to finish a Jackal Driver. Why is it called a Jackal Driver? Because Don Callis was the Jackal.
The Jackal, yes.
He wrestled as the Jackal on the Indies, and in WWE, he was the Jackal. And do you know what's wild? Looking back, right? Like, when that higher power storyline came out, and everybody thought, who could be the higher power, right? And we had heard, maybe it's Jake Roberts. That was one. Maybe it's the $1 Million Man. Maybe they got him to come back. And then I remember reading, it's the Jackal. And I thought to myself, the Jackal, why would it be him? And you know what? Who knew this?
It would have actually worked.
You know what? If anybody is familiar with Don Callis and his abilities, it 100% would have worked. Now, he wasn't the same Don Callis. He was not the same man at 20-something years old, as he is today. But, man, you know what? Could it have worked? A lot of other stuff that made more sense has not worked. I think Don Callis as the higher power could have been something incredible. I thought this was great. John Moxley also cut a promo. He said he knew Samoa Joe would kick his ass, but vowed to outlast Joe and keep his reign as the champion in the steel cage match. Okay, cool. Anthony Bowen defeated Lee Johnson. This is continuing his win streak. Gates of Agony, I have to tell you, I'm into them now. There's something that's changed with them. Have you noticed that?
Yeah,
You know what it is?
Got more main eventy.
Exactly. TV time. They're now not subjugated to being just a random team. Very good stuff. Very good brawl with Brian Keith and Big Bill before the four were laid out through a table on the outside. Chris Statlander, Willow Nightingale. Chris won via pinfall. Marina attacked Willow while Statlander was laid out on the outside. Statlander got back into her ring, hit her with a modified pile driver on Willow to pick up the win. You got a vignette for Sky Blue. Sky Blue's returning next week. I'm glad she's coming back. That injury was nasty. She was out for a little bit.
Yeah.
Josh Alexander and Takeshita with Don Callis defeated Dark Order. This was a fun show. Speedball Mike Bailey defeated Dralistico via pinfall. Roosh had a face-to-face with Bailey after the match, so you can see that this is where it's headed. Daniel Garcia versus Dax Harwood. This ended in a no contest. This led to Nigel McGuinness being involved.
We're getting a Nigel match, aren't we?
We are getting a Nigel match, and it looks like it's probably going to be a tag match where it's going to be Nigel and Daniel Garcia and maybe Matt Menard on the outside against FTR. And you know what? I'm kind of into this. Yeah. More Nigel, the better. I mean, how could you not be into Nigel McGuinness coming back and having a match here? So I don't know if this will end up becoming an all-in match or a double or nothing match, but it's going to be something. Final segment of the show coming up. Wrestling Observer Live here on Sports Byline. Stay tuned. Wrestling Observer Live here on Sports Byline. Final segment of the show. I'm going to try something new here. I'm going to go to my producer. I want to know, what was your favorite thing of the week? Now, you and I have a lot of things we like in common when it comes to wrestling. We like, old school Mid-South wrestling. We like the obscure. We like the weird Japanese stuff that nobody has seen in 40 years. What was your favorite thing this week? Because I kind of have a feeling I know.
I'm going back to NXT this week. Julia and Jordan Grace had a non-WWE style, almost strong style Japan match where there was some hard hitting. Julia took a bump on her head a couple times, but I really enjoy that style, and I really enjoyed that they're trying that in WWE now.
Well, there's a lot of changes happening, especially on the women's side. I mean, if you look at the next generation of talent that's coming up that they recently acquired, right? Julia, Jordan Grace. I mean, Jordan's been around for some time, but I mean, this is not a version anybody has ever seen of her. She's incredible. But between Stephanie Vaquer, Julia, and Jordan Grace, and everybody else that they have there, their women's roster is very, very strong. I know a lot of people were released early this week, and that's never fun to talk about. We didn't have a chance today to go into that list, but Braun Strowman's gone. A lot of the women from NXT are gone. Shayna Baszler's gone. Some you could kind of say, okay, maybe it was a financial thing. Maybe it was just it wasn't working out. Others are very surprised, especially some of the women that were released. But if you look at this roster, I mean, between Stephanie Vaquer, Jordan Grace, and Julia, they have their next three, the future 3 world champions already there. I mean, there's no way those 3 will not win a world title in WWE. It's not a possibility. They're just so good. And they're doing a good job. And then you have people like Lola Vice that's coming up, and she's in the mix too. I'm very intrigued by this. But we're out of time here. Wrestling Observer Live. We'll see you all next week. Bye-bye.